welcome to this week's karma cards. All I have to say is how is this Mercury retrograde treating you? I'll tell you what, I just recorded this entire karma cards just before I'm doing this video, and it was great. I felt really good about it, and then it just disappeared. Didn't save. It's gone. It's just in the ether somewhere. So that pretty much sums up how I've been feeling about Mercury retrograde. Hopefully yours is going a lot better. If it's not, if it's energetically got you pretty tangled up, there's a reason for that. So Mercury has transited from Libra, where it was in conjunction with Jupiter, in opposition to Jupiter, and that felt better. And now it's in Virgo in opposition to Neptune, which feels frustrating. That's why, because when Mercury is in Virgo, it's in the sign it rules and it's at its strength. So the mind wants to be very clear and concise. But when it's opposing Neptune, it's in Pisces, and Pisces is ruled by Neptune and is the polar opposite of Virgo. So it's very abstract. So it's like working with the two hemispheres of the brain, but they're not fully communicating. We've got the left hemisphere represented by Virgo being very grounded and structured, and the right hemisphere represented by Pisces being very nebulous and esoteric is the word I was looking for, and I was also trying to say aesthetic at the same time, so it was esoteric. Anyway, with that combination, it can be very frustrating because it's like you can't quite focus and it feels like there's a veil of confusion over what you are doing. Plus, having Mercury in retrograde already has sort of a frustrating quality to it because it's like the words won't come out fully, and it just also creates a lot of confusion and expression. People are more internalized in their expression, making communication easier for misunderstandings, and just not quite getting to the point. This karma cards I really wanted to share with you about the observer effect because it's so important all the time, but really right now as things are sort of ramping up in the outside world and the drama is becoming more dramatic, it's really important to understand how the observer effect works and why it's so important to really choose your focus. So in the observer effect, we're talking about a quantum physics theory that talks about that whatever you're observing literally is taking form in the form of particles, and what you're not observing is in a wave state, so it's in a potential. So there is form and potential happening. So when we are bringing our attention to something, it doesn't matter if we like it or not, we're actually helping it take form. And this is something that's actually known by the negative timeline group, and that they use it to their advantage to help us create. This is how they use mass consciousness to create, is they're saying, hey, look at this, put your attention here, watch this. And as we do that, we're actually helping it take form. And whatever information is being fed to us while we look at it, we're actually helping that take form. So it's a very powerful state, the observer state. When we are dealing with something and we want a certain outcome, then this is how it comes into our own physical, personal manifestation. Let's say we're experiencing some kind of problem, something we don't like in our life, and we want its solution. It's important to note that problem and solution coexist together. They're created at the same time. It's like a spectrum, and one problem's hanging out at this end, and solution is hanging out over here. Now, whatever we take our focus to is what is going to take form, and what we are not focused on will be its potentiation. So if we're looking at a problem and we're really looking at this problem and we're like, I don't like you, problem, you're giving me a really hard time. It doesn't matter that we don't like it. What matters is our attention is on it, meaning that the solution is sort of over here in this nebulous wave state, potentially existing, but it's not taking form yet. And it isn't until we decide, wait a minute, if this is a problem, that means there's a solution. As soon as we're like, oh, there's actually a solution. I want to know what the solution is. I'm actually more interested in the solution. Well, now you'll notice, now this is taking form, and problem is now moving into a wave state. So it's not even just about coming up with the actual solution. It's literally about turning your attention and observing solution that helps to dissipate the problem. And this is how we help ourselves manifest. And so whatever you're experiencing or putting your attention on right now, notice if you are watching it because you're worried about it and you want to keep an eye on it because you don't want it to get bigger or more messy. And just notice that that's actually still giving it a form. What you want to do is acknowledge that if this exists, its solution also exists. And so then therefore bringing your attention over to, well, if this is the problem, then there's a solution. I wonder what the solution is. Get curious and really focused on solution, and it will start to take form and the problem will start to dissipate. So with that, let's do some karma cards. By the way, I'm sharing on my Telegram channel other things that help talk about the observer effect and actually get into the physics of it, as well as how it applies to how we're sort of existing in this greater experience that you might call like a simulation state. If you're interested in that, look for Blythe Starlight on Telegram, join my channel, and you'll get to see those videos as well, because there's a lot of amazing creators out there who are really putting that content together in a beautiful and succinct way, and it's just easier for me to show you what they've said than try to reiterate it word for word. All right, so now let's do karma cards. If you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology, and I've already asked my team, what's the message you have for us this week? And I have 2 sets of answers, one in red, which are action related, and a set in blue that are outcome. And all you have to do to play is tune into your own intuition and feel into what do you need right now. Are you looking for action-related solution answers, or are you looking to see how things are going to resolve over the next week? And of course, you can always choose both. While you are choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for September 28th through October 5th. And the flavor of this reading, we've got Jupiter, very good planet to get, sign of expansion and joy, in the sign of Cancer, which represents our feelings, our intuition, our foundations in the past. And it's all happening in the 6th house of health and service. So let's start with action. Your spiritual action at this time is to learn or teach your feelings as a full-time job. This one's important. Our feelings are our GPS system. They actually show us where we are focusing. They are super helpful if we're not being conscious or paying attention to how we're focusing. If we're feeling negative feelings like fear or worry or doubt or anxiety, we know we are out of alignment with who we truly are or what we truly want. And our emotions help guide us back to what we want to be focusing on. And it's also important to know that our emotions aren't necessarily telling us the truth about a situation. Like, we could have bad feelings and misinterpret that to mean something bad is happening, when really it's how we are focused on something that is creating that negative feeling. So it's important for us to pay attention, to learn about them, and in some cases maybe teach about how this works, maybe through example or sharing that information with others. Mental action at this time. Be positive about attitudes from the past about serving. So one of the things that is happening in this time period is that we're in the messy middle of a bigger creation, right? We're in this ascension process that has a pretty big, awesome grand finale. But where we are is inside the destruction window where the old paradigm is breaking down fully, and it looks pretty messy. And if you're not holding that frequency of what you knew before this started and the idea of where it's going, it can get really tricky to kind of get caught in this messy middle and let it drag you down emotionally, maybe into apathy or bitterness or frustration. And so what it's reminding us here is to go back to how you felt as you were aware that you have a part to play, as you were aware that, oh my gosh, I'm team service to others, and we're going to raise the frequency of this planet. We came here in a group and it's going to be amazing, and we're going to have this beautiful shift. All that hope and idealism is what you actually need to call on and connect to get you through this messy middle ground where everything looks like it's falling apart. Because on one level it is falling apart, but it's actually falling together in a better way. The things that are unnecessary and that would keep us from experiencing the highest timeline are falling away. That doesn't mean everything is falling away, and it doesn't mean that there isn't something glorious that's coming with all of this messiness. So keep in contact with how you felt when this started, and it will ground you as we go through this middle portion. Physical action at this time: grow and expand, use your intuition, and do it a little at a time. So that's the path forward, is to grow and expand. It's literally to understand that we have the power to create with our focus. So if we focus on our growth and expansion, which ultimately is what that ascension journey is all about. It's about a soul expansion. If we just keep focusing on that, we'll use our intuition to tap in. This is where you tap in with your heart center and you just feel like, how are things really? And if you take that moment to tune in and really sit with it, you feel an incredible peace around everything. Let that guide you through. And understand that it's not like you have to flip the switch. If you're in a state where you're like, this is a crappy day, I'm in a crappy mood, crappy things are happening, you're not being asked to make a quantum leap into a great feeling. You're being asked to incrementally shift your focus, to pull it back. And one of the ways I love to do that is by taking in my present moment checklist. And all I do is I simply observe what is true about my life in this very moment right now. Like, for example, I have a roof over my head. It's keeping me dry. My belly is full. I ate lunch recently. I know there's money in the bank. I know there's food in the fridge. I know that my children are safe. I know that my cats are napping and well fed. And I'm just looking at what is true and positive in my life right now. I am observing what is happening now, and it's helping my brain anchor in to that better feeling. It's aligning me because I am observing what is working. And as I do that, I'm expanding it. And so that is a great way to grow and expand using your intuition right now. Is just feel into right now in this moment. Feel into your safety in this moment. Feel into what's working for you right now. All right, now let's look at outcomes in Jupiter and Cancer in the 6th house of health and service. The spiritual outcome at this time is the granting of intuition to protect service to others. So despite how messy things may look in the external world, or how messy they may feel in your internal world, as we're going through this 6 planet plus planetoid, so 7 technical planets retrograde right now, where everything's internalized and it feels like you're literally reviewing yourself and looking over things, and it feels like, well, this is where I was failing here, or this is not working out so well. It can feel really intense. And it's letting us know that our intuition is quite strong right now. We can use that to really kind of cut through the conscious mental clutter and get right to the point and recognize the true being you are. So even though you're having this very human experience and you're having all these feelings and emotions and you're working through karmic stuff, underneath all that, you are this beautiful, pure being of energy, pure love, pure source. You know, all of that on top of it is really part of the play. It's part of the story that we're in, the simulated experience, just so we can follow through a line of energy and see what, if I embody this type of energy, how does that play out? That's really all we're doing as this beautiful soul. And so it allows us to tap back into what we truly are, and what that part of us, that choice that it really wants us to make. And for those who are tapping into this, you feel that I'm here for a greater purpose. I'm here not just for myself, but for all of us. I'm here for our oneness, right? And that's why we're so drawn to unification and harmonizing, because it's truly our essence. It's truly what we are. This allows us to tap right into that, even through all this mental and emotional turbulence at this time. Mental outcome: blessings from attitudes from the past about what is good for us. You know, this, what it makes me think of when I hear that is how before we take a risk in anything in our life, whatever it is, we usually sort of are talking ourselves through it, right? We either talk ourselves through it or we talk ourselves out of it. But if we're talking ourselves through it, we're sort of like acknowledging that, yeah, there might be this might be challenging to me, but ultimately what I'm going to get by going through this is so good. It's worth the risk, right? And that's what it's reminding me of. It's letting us know that you want to go back to, it keeps alluding of, go back in your mind to where things started. So if it's something personal you're working on, or if it's just the situation in general, try to go back in energy to where you started and feel, you know, the whole mindset, the attitude around it. It's usually very positive, hopeful, and idealistic. And again, they're reconfirming that that energy acts as a foundation for you to walk you through that messy middle. It's like a plank or a bridge over a swamp. You want that. You want that bridge. You don't want to wade through that yucky swamp. You want to have something solid to walk across, to take you through a tough period of time. And what they're saying is your bridge is your attitude from the past about how this was going to go. So whatever challenge you find yourself in, go back to the point where you were like, I can handle this. I actually believe this is going to be good for me. I think I can do this. That is your bridge across the murky middle. Physical outcome at this time: good fortune resulting from the history of your work. And what this is trying to show us is, because they keep alluding to before you started this, and that might mean before you came to Earth, it might mean before you started a project. It could mean whatever the before is. They are wanting you to know that that isn't just a moment in time. It's not just like before existed and then it disappears. It's letting you know that it's foundational, right? And everything is building off each other. So the beginning supports the middle, which supports the ending. And so it's that acknowledgement and awareness that everything you've done counts. And this reminds me of what they talk about in the Law of One, about the graduation point, right? So if we're going to graduate or move forward to New Earth, say, right, then you need to achieve 51% service to others. And it's not, it's cumulative. It's cumulative. So every day that you do it, it adds up. Every time that you choose it, it adds up. Right? So it all counts. And if you recognize that, if you don't dismiss the good work you've done in the past just because you're having a hard moment, then you're feeling that's going to give you that good feeling and allow you to, like I said, have a nice steady bridge across murky times. So don't discount the work you've done. Don't discount the effort you've put in, even if you're not getting the results you want yet. One of the messages I keep getting, or that it keeps coming through in this message, is that be aware of the murky middle. It's deceptive. It doesn't look like the end, but it's also not the end. It's the middle, right? And the middle is messy. And leaning on your, what did I think about this before I started, is really going to help you right now maintain a stronger, more positive attitude. It's going to help you avoid the pitfalls that comes into falling into believing that the middle is the end. And in the other recording I did, that was fantastic. I talked about this is part of the creation process and the hero's journey, and they really are kind of one and the same. But in the hero's journey, there's an arc, right? There's the beginning where it's like you find out, the hero sort of learns about their nemesis, if you will, and then they formulate the plan of how they're going to defeat this, and they have their wins, and then they have some losses and setbacks, and then they win again. But there is sort of the grand battle, if you will, where there is a point in that battle called the all is lost point. Now that is not the end. It's not at the end. It is kind of the denouement or the high point of the murky middle, though. And it's an important point in both our hero's journey and the creation process. So I'm going to use the metaphor of like making a cake or a painting, but let's say you're making a cake and the cake burns in the oven. You're at the all is lost point where you're not sure if there's any hope left, and you now have to make a critical choice. And that is the point of the all is lost point, is to make a critical choice. And the critical choice here is to abandon it or to power forward, to move forward and trust that this is going to work out better than you expected. So with like the cake metaphor, you might make the point of this cake is too burnt and it's disgusting and I can't salvage it, and you dump it in the garbage. Or you make a different choice point where you grab a carving knife and you start shaving all the burnt pieces off of the cake and see if you can salvage it. And then what ends up happening is you make a cake and it looks really cool, but it wasn't the cake you intended to make. That is the importance of the all is lost point, is the critical decision. And if you've heard me talk about third density, you'll know it's the choice. In fact, if you go to my podcast, Modern Mystic Soul, you can find it on all the podcast platforms, and I'll link it below. But if you go to that, there is a series I did called The Choice, and it really talks you through the third density and the importance of the choice. But again, that all is lost point happens in every creation, and it's going to happen in this sort of bigger world events. As we're reaching ascension, we have to hit the precipice. We have to hit the all is lost point. It's critical in decision making. It kind of helps you know if you're going to go forward to this new earth energy, or if you're going to go somewhere else. Maybe you're going to want to practice third density more. It's really based on this critical choice. So what they want us to know is that what helps you choose to move forward, to grow and expand, is to recall the passion and the hope and the belief you had at the beginning of the journey. So right as you're looking at the recipe for the cake you're going to make, or the vision you have for that painting, or the vision you have for the career path you're on, you got to go back to that point and really, pull those feelings forward and go, this is still alive. This is still here. And when you're holding that, as you move through that messy middle and you hit the critical all is lost point, it's going to help you make the decision. Most of the time, if we've got that with us, we can salvage what is there, and we can create something better than what we thought we were going to make. And with that, I'm sending you guys so much love. I hope this recording saves. Please let it save. And I hope you have a beautiful week. Mwah. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical. My name is Therese Tucker, and I want to welcome you to Mercury Pod Coaching. I created this group coaching program to help you move out of procrastination and into traction towards your big goals. I know how it feels to dream really big and then all of a sudden find yourself sitting there spinning in place, not getting anywhere closer to your goal. It can be really easy to get caught up in feeling flustered and confused and not know what action to take, and so you completely stop taking any action at all. If this sounds familiar to you, then there's a good chance that you've got some mindset blocks in the way that are preventing you from taking actions right now that can get you closer to your big dream and create real change in your life. Here's what you need. You need someone who can see those mindset blocks and help you get out of indecision, move into inspired action, and do it quickly. And that's where I come in. So what is the Mercury Coaching Pod? It is a 30-day coaching program where you will have weekly coaching calls live with me to help you implement your plans and take action now. In this group coaching program, you will also get one private session with me where we can completely deep dive into what it is you're trying to create, and I can help you create the action tasks that you're going to need to complete in 30 days to get ahead. If you're ready to jumpstart your goals and get going right now, then you are the perfect person for this pod coaching program. So if you're interested, hit the Get Access button below. And of course, I look forward to seeing you in the Mercury Pod Coaching Program. All my love. Mwah.